Very much. Yes.
That's awesome. Yeah. But it's also like, I don't know if it's like spin on it. And I knew right when I got there last night.
And no, literally, I'm very much like, that's what I'm quite
Now they
you're not supposed to see
free some of what they get.
Buenos dias. Good morning. Hello and welcome to the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute's 2025 Congressional Hill Briefing Series. I'm Caroline Gonzalez Scott, Senior Vice President of Programs and Alumni Affairs. This series is the culmination of CHCI's premier 9-month postgraduate fellowship program, which offers exceptional Latinos unheralded exposure to hands-on experience in public policy. This unique fellowship program seeks to enhance participants' leadership abilities, strengthen professional skills, and increase the presence of Latinos in public policy, specifically in the areas of health, technology, housing, law, finance, child welfare, and education. CHCI is thrilled to be able to offer our postgraduate fellows the opportunity to share their perspective on policy issues they are passionate about and convene leaders in this work for an informative conversation. We would like to thank our postgraduate fellowship sponsors for supporting the program, including Pepsi Foundation, America's Health Insurance Plans, Meta, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, Casey Family Programs, and the Walton Family Foundation. To start the discussion today, please join me in welcoming Congressman Henry Cuellar, representing Texas 28th District. Welcome, Congressman.
Thank you. How are y'all? Good morning, everybody. First of all, I want to thank y'all for the great work and all of y'all for being here today. My topic today is going to be on colonias. I don't know if all of y'all know what colonias are, but I will give you my experience of working with colonia legislation when I was in the state legislature as a state legislator and as a Secretary of State. And then some of the work that I've done while I'm here with my colleagues, looking for my colleagues here, but the other members from the Hispanic caucus to make sure we address some of these issues. This colonial legislation back in the House is basically an issue that we see up and down the borders. I'm in Texas, Laredo, Texas, but we see it in New Mexico and of course Arizona and other places. And basically a colonia is what I call a third world condition in the U.S. They don't have water, they don't have sewage, they don't have paved streets, and not even electricity. So just think about living in a place where you don't have the basic utilities. And that is what a colonia is. I always have said that when you deal with colonias, you have to put yourself in the shoes of the folks that are there. And I remember one time we got some lighting for a colonia, and this little girl came up to me, and I still remember that moment. And she said, "Now for the first time, I'll be able to do my homework even when the sun goes down." And that sentence stuck to me. What she said is basically when it got dark, she couldn't do homework anymore. Or, talking to teachers, they would always say, who are the kids that live at the colonia? ESP. No, what it was the kids that had mud on their shoes because school buses couldn't go into the colonias. They would stay on the highway, and therefore they would have to walk through the mud, and therefore the teachers could say, so and so live in the colonia. So that is what a colonia is. So we started working on colonias back many years. And it was interesting, if you look at it, how, and again, I can't speak for New Mexico, Arizona, but I'm giving you the Texas experience, was basically what happened was you had some developers that in many ways took, and some I'm sure were noble people, they took advantage of the American dream. The American dream is to say, I'm going to buy a house, a little house, this is my house, and this is going to be the house for my family. So what happened in that situation was that they would say, hey, we're going to get you this contract, a contract for deeds or a deed for a contract. And basically, we don't have the water, we don't have the sewage, we don't have the pay street, but we're going to do that later. And therefore, your price, instead of including all the underground utilities, was a lot lower. They were paid $100 a month. And say, hey, I can have my American dream, my house, for $100 a month. Well, we don't have the water or the sewage, but he promised, or she promised, that they would bring the utilities. Time went on. They got the money. A lot of those developers left, or they said they were going to do it. And then after a while, you had people that bought the American dream, and they were in this colonias. Then after a while, they realized that they couldn't provide the basic utilities, so then they came to government. And they said, we need water. You're our state rep. I was the state representative. And they said, you're our state representative, and darn it, we want water right now. Darn it, we want our streets paved. Darn it, we want this, and we want this. So the developers left a lot of people hanging. And what they would do also, and I'm sure that y'all know this, is they would foreclose on those deeds, on those contracts, and then they would sell it, they would sell it. So the titles of those properties a lot of times had a lot of owners, if I can say this. And I know this because, when I was in law school, I worked with a Laredo legal aid, and that was one of the big projects was trying to figure out who was the owners, because a lot of times they were foreclosed, sell it to somebody else, go through the same process. So it was a very complicated thing that we had to do. So we ended up, in the legislature, and that was one of the areas I focused on legislation. And we worked on legislation to halt those contracts that just took advantage of people. We established self-help centers in Texas, and I'll go over that. And then, of course, just making sure that we stop the growth of colonias, because if you didn't stop the growth of colonias, then they would continue to go. So one of the, we called it the landmark legislation of colonias back in 1995. I was drinking that, boy, that was a long time ago. I passed House Bill 1001, which is the landmark legislation in Texas to stop the growth of colonias, making sure there's a lot of problems with county governments, because we don't want to be regulated, we want to regulate, so we have to we finally got it done. That legislation is very important to stop the growth of colonias and set the minimum requirements if you're going to develop land. Keep in mind that counties in Texas, they're political creatures of the state government. So any power that they have comes from the state government. Cities are very, very different. So they would do those colonias right outside the cities in the colonia. We passed other legislation, what we